What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Variant the Podcast. I'm Arris Quinones with Tim Conley. How you doing, Timmy?
Living large, as always. I guess in more ways than one.
Living large and in charge.
Greetings, Variant Nation, as always.
Yes.
Welcome back to the show.
We have a very Marvel-themed episode today.
Yes.
It's all Marvel. All Marvel. Marvel.
I feel like that's like 90% of the time because they have so much of the... We say this too much.
Yes. I mean, it's like, because Disney, it's either, I feel like it's either Marvel or Star Wars. It's just because...
Last week we hit, those big DC
movies
toward the end. But yeah, this week it's all Marvel stuff.
Yep. So we got the first teaser trailer for Love and Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
And then Moon Knight episode 4.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk our thoughts on Love and Thunder.
Yes. So first and foremost, and I'm so curious to see the just very similarly to Thor Ragnarok, the reaction to the trailer seems, well, no, I take that back. I was going to say it seems very similar to Thor Ragnarok, where the majority is, really excited about. This one seems a little less. There's more people going, that they're not super thrilled with it. Whereas Thor Ragnarok was kind of universal. I was very much the odd man out.
Yeah.
And not really liking it as much as everybody else. I know, big surprise to everyone.
My takeaway for as far as the general reaction, it seems pretty 50-50 for me, like kind of polarizing.
Yeah, that's
a bit.
what I mean. It's definitely less than Thor Ragnarok.
I guess, getting right into it, my initial thoughts is very underwhelming with some cool things. Is like my sum. Because first, yes, I'm going to say it all out the gate because I know people are going to comment if they don't. Yes, I know it is a teaser trailer. Yes, I know it's not the show. It's not supposed to show us a lot of stuff. Hence, teaser trailer. Because I know if I don't say that, people will be like, it's a teaser trailer. What did you expect them to show you? Or you think they're going to show you everything? They think they're going to show you gore? Yeah, no, I get it. I know what a teaser trailer is.
Right.
But even with that said, the whole point of a teaser trailer is to get you excited for the film.
Right.
For me personally, this teaser trailer didn't get me excited for Thor: Love and Thunder. Again, there was several cool things that happened in it that I'll get into in a second.
Right.
But overall, I think they would say one word, describe the trailer. For me, underwhelming.
I think it's funny because everyone, we've been grabbing some of these larger trailers when they drop, and we've been reposting them on the channel just for you guys to see and, to kind of incorporate into our coverage of different things. But some people will put like trailer and people are actually saying it's not a trailer, it's a teaser.
It's a teaser trailer.
I don't get what that correction is about. I really do not. Like, it's teaser, trailer, they're both the same thing. It's just a different it's just the smallest difference of a word.
Is it a trailer for a trailer?
It's a teaser trailer, a trailer. Like, it's all the same
pre-trailer.
thing. Yeah, it's showing you pieces of the movie to try and get you excited. It's marketing and promotional tool.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. But anyway, this trailer, there's two things I felt after watching this.
Teaser, you mean? I had to.
Well done. So there was two things that I took away. It was one, it was kind of, there was a little bit of a, okay, you say underwhelming. It was kind of the same thing, but it wasn't as much overwhelming for me as much it was just like, okay, this is what I expected. Because it's Taika Waititi, and I got the gist of what the tone was that he was going to do with Thor in Ragnarok.
Yes.
I personally didn't really care about it. That's why I am a little bit surprised now thinking about it, about how this seems more polarized than Ragnarok, because everyone seemed to like what he did with Thor and Ragnarok, and this is going to be right in that vein. It's just they're adding that extra 80s motif. You know what I mean? The retro stuff. Other than that, it's going to be the same. So that's what I was expecting. I was expecting, for me personally, my taste to be just very like, okay, it's the same thing, because that's his sensibilities. Yeah. And him and Chris Hemsworth together, like, they have very similar like senses of humor. That's why they like feed off each other, and for this style that they're going with, it works well. But so I took away from this, like, okay, this is what I thought it was going to be. And then the second part was there's a lot of stuff is going to happen in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, whether people like it, like the tone and the style, that's a different thing. But in terms of like the actual MCU, you can tell there's a lot going to be going on in this film.
Well, it's after Multiverse Madness too. Right. So it's like, you got to imagine that's going to have some ramifications in this film. But like, I've been saying it from the jump, like, if anything, they're introducing like obviously Greek mythology. So you have Zeus. Hercules, I feel like, is almost a guaranteed character that's going to appear in this film. Whether it's like a post-credit scene like the Eternals, you know, where they introduce like a Star Fox at the end, something like that, where it's like, again, it's Zeus. There's no, and Zeus, you know, he's obviously in Marvel Comics and stuff like that, but like Hercules is a huge character in Marvel. He's an Avenger. He was an Avenger, so it's like
it's kind of a rival to Thor,
right? There's no way you don't introduce him in this. I mean, there's a way, obviously, but. If I was a betting man, I would put money that he's going to cameo or at least be mentioned and set up for the future.
Right.
And then obviously Beta Ray Bill is another one I feel like is probably going to be introduced in this film.
Yeah, I mean, in the teaser, they do return to Sakaar. They're clearly in Sakaar, both Thor and what's the other character's name? I'm having a brain fart. Korg, thank you. They're up clearly on Sakaar, and they return. So we already saw them alluding to Beta Ray Bill in Ragnarok with his face on the thing as one of the former champions for the Grandmaster. This one, so them going back definitely kicks the door wide open to what we all hope is inevitable, which is the introduction of Beta Ray Bill into the MCU.
Yeah.
That for me was one of the most exciting aspects because we've talked about it many times. I really want that to happen, especially with the creation of Stormbreaker. You see in the trailer, it looks like Thor might be parting ways with Stormbreaker, which opens the door for Beta Ray Bill to take it. Although he does plant it in the ground.
Yes.
Which kind of hints at the possibility of that becoming the new World Tree, potentially.
Possibly.
Or some crazy form of
the thing
Groot. Because Vin Diesel hinted a while back about Groot becoming some kind of alpha Groot in the near future.
It's interesting. The whole Stormbreaker thing in general, it was really weird when they introduced it as a new weapon for Thor in Infinity War, just because, as we know from the comic books, that was created for Beta Ray Bill by Odin. Right. So obviously in the MCU, the other way around, he lost Mjolnir, so he had Stormbreaker created for Thor. So I don't know how that's going to, because if Jane Foster Thor from this teaser trailer is getting Mjolnir, which has now been reforged, and now she's wielding it, and she's, the mighty Thor, as they're calling her for this, then you have, Thor, or Odin's son, with Stormbreaker. What is Beta Ray Bill? Does he take is this like Hemsworth's exit? Is he out and then he just gives Stormbreaker to Beta Ray Bill, and now we have Jane Foster, Thor, and Beta Ray Bill? Or do they make a third weapon?
I don't know. I mean, throughout the trailer, they're hinting and alluding that Thor, because we all know that, throughout the events of the first 10 years, Thor goes through a crap ton of stuff. Like, he gets jacked up on multiple fronts, emotionally, physically, he lets himself go and he becomes the overweight Thor, the heavy Thor in Endgame. Yeah. And in this teaser, it alludes to even spiritually, like his core, like he's messed up. He's got all kinds of issues.
Well, the trailer says
everyone that he loves, and on and on and on.
He's like no longer a superhero.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he's like going through an existential crisis. Like that was already happening in Endgame. Yeah. They had him, because I thought the coolest Thor has looked in the MCU, I thought, was in Ragnarok. Do you agree with that?
The coolest he's looked?
Looked. Like in the most powerful that he's looked, and the coolest he's looked was when they shaved his head, and he had the short haircut.
Infinity War is my favorite, I think, version of Thor.
Infinity War?
Yeah.
That's true. He did look cool, but he had this short hair and stuff.
He had the short hair, but with Stormbreaker and stuff, and he almost killed Thanos.
So Infinity War. I retract. You were right. Infinity War. But then Endgame, I did not like what they did with Thor in Endgame. The heavy Thor. I know a lot of people thought it was funny. I just thought it was over the top. Yeah. I didn't really care for it. And this, they're going to, they show him working out with the chains, and there's that big giant skull, skeleton.
With the hat that says strongest Avenger. It's a trucker hat that says strongest Avenger.
And he's Sharpied out because it says like the mightiest Avengers. And he like used a Sharpie and recreated it.
If they make that a hat, I'm buying it.
Yeah, strongest Avenger. So anyway, so that's like a toss back to him saying I'm the mightiest, he's the mightiest or strongest Avenger, and Tony Stark kind of punking him with with Bruce Banner and the Hulk. But you know, they show him going through all these different phases. Everybody in this world, he lets himself go. Now he's got to lose all the weight, and he goes through a physical transformation. But then there's in the trailer, it cuts to him in what looks to be like Alfheim, which is that kind of fair, you know, the fairy, like mystical, magical realm. And they show him where his eyes are fixed. So it alludes to where he's like going through a healing process, and maybe he gets his eye healed and the whole thing through magic.
Because Rocket took it back. He's going to get that eye.
Yeah, he's gonna oh, I'm getting that on. So there's clearly going through this, but I'm wondering, is this going to be setting him up and kind of taking him through this process to have him exit? Or is this going to set the stage for a new phase for Thor? I would lean towards the former, the exit, because, you know, there were people that thought he was going to be out in Endgame with everybody else.
He's one of the OGs.
Yeah, he's one of the originals.
Although we got Jeremy Renner, you know, Hawkeye's still in it strong.
Chris Hemsworth could play Thor for another 10 years.
He looks better now than he did when he first started playing Thor.
Ripped to shreds. He's still very young. The guy could play Thor for another 10 years.
Like, imagine getting like King Thor, like from the comics.
Crazy.
Like,
they could do all kinds of stuff.
Make him older and man. Okay. Yeah.
But they seem to be setting the stage to move past him.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how long that's going to be. It could be 2-3 more movies. I don't know. But they seem to be setting the stage for that. But they're in multiple planets in this teaser. They're in Olympus rather.
You see Russell Crowe as Zeus.
You don't see his face,
but he's holding a lightning bolt.
Yeah,
and he's
you see
cheering
the
to
different
crowd.
gods in the background.
Yeah, that's cool.
You know, there's all kinds of just multiple different locations. There's a lot going on in the teaser. It's all very quick, obviously, but there's a lot of alluding to things. So my point is that there's a lot. It seems a lot is going to be going on in this movie, Thor: Love and Thunder, that springboard off of the Multiverse of Madness. How that all translates and everything like that, we don't know. For instance, like Jane Foster Thor, is that going to be in any way a ramification of what goes on in Multiverse of Madness, or is that going to be, you know, kind of the 616, just, you know, Earth, the regular Earth?
I don't know. I mean, that could literally go either way. It's a total guess. I would imagine that it probably is the normal Jane Foster Thor, because we know from merchandise and stuff that's getting released, you know, there's the action figures of Jane Foster Thor and stuff like that, and they do little bios on it where they confirm that apparently she will be having cancer in the MCU. So it's very much from the comics where it's like, okay, so we haven't seen this Jane.
Like Jason Aaron's Mighty Thor.
We haven't seen Jane in a while, so maybe that's why she's been going through cancer and stuff. And much like in the books, when Thor becomes unworthy, the Mjolnir chooses her as a new Thor, and every time she uses the hammer, it actually wipes away all of the chemo. So she's actually, the more she becomes Thor, the quicker she's dying. Right. Which is kind of a cool arc. I enjoyed that part of the arc where it's like, because it's really pushing what a true hero is, even though turning into Thor, she's sacrificing herself to save other people, and that comes full circle where like she dies, but then she gets resurrected and she becomes the new Valkyrie. So that'd be cool to see that play. I don't think that's a long game. I don't think we're gonna see that in the MCU, but it's still really cool. But yeah, for me, I don't know. Like, as far as getting back to the actual teaser trailer and not so much like, you know, where the movie itself is going, the teaser trailer itself was like, the three things that stood out to me was the very beginning where you see Thor running through the forest as he gets older and older. The second one, like that, like kind of 20-year-old Thor, was really dope because he's wearing the classic OG Thor costume. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's like, that is OG Thor. So it was really cool seeing that. Just that was very neat. A comic fan. Then obviously Zeus, first time I was getting any kind of glimpse of Russell Crowe as Zeus. Obviously no gore in this trailer. They're gonna save that for like
the big.
That's trailer, the big thing. Yeah. And then Jane Foster Thor at the very, very end, which I'm not the only one who's been saying this. I've noticed the internet saying it doesn't look like Natalie Portman in that costume. Like, I know obviously Natalie Portman is playing the character, but for whatever, like, I'm not talking about just like the face. Right, like that doesn't look like Natalie Portman.
You mentioned that earlier, and I went and I looked. It did to me.
Did it really?
Yeah, it did to me.
Well, for me,
just looks. She put on like muscle weight.
She did. Yeah,
she put on a lot of muscle for this role, and that just changes, you know, the dynamics.
And she does have the helmet on, I guess, but like,
I mean, I think she looks dope.
No, she looks really cool.
She looks, I mean, really.
I even
really
like
good.
the fact that the hammer has been reforged, just so you could see the lightning coming through the cracks.
Yep.
I'm very curious to see how that plays off. I even like Thor's new costume, or I guess he's Odin's son now. How he's got kind of like the fur around his neck and all that. all that stuff. But I guess the main reason why it was underwhelming for me is because, yes, again, I know it's a teaser, but it didn't really tell me where it's going, I guess. There was not even a hint of like, I mean, I guess if you really look into it, maybe, but there was no real hint of like, this is the arc. Right. Now, obviously with Gore the God Butcher in it, we could all assume that the main thing is going to be Gore's going around trying to kill gods. You would imagine one of the first gods he's going to kill or try to kill is Zeus, which is why, you know, he's in the movie, and then all that's ultimately going to lead him teaming up with Thor or Odin's son, and then maybe Hercules will surprise us and come into the mix. So, because he's, you know, Zeus is obviously another god. So I think that's going to play a role, but I mean, besides that, it's like, yeah, but I'm kind of with you where I think, I don't know as much because I know you weren't the biggest fan of Thor Ragnarok. I liked it more than you.
Yeah,
but,
you definitely did.
Yeah, I wasn't over the moon for it, but I do agree in the sense where I don't like the arc they're going with Thor in general. Ever since that movie, because especially being a big fan of what Donny Cates is doing,
completely redefined Thor in the MCU.
Right. Yep. But I'm such a big fan. Like, admittedly, I'm not I haven't been reading Thor forever. Like, I haven't been a massive Thor fan, but I do like Thor. But over the last few years, ever since Donny Cates took over, it's made me a really big Thor fan in the comic books. I think he's been doing a really, really good job. And even without that, I know enough of Thor in the comics to know he's a very regal character. Always has been. He's a god. He's a god. He's a king. He's a king. Right. So knowing all that, and specifically in the new Donny Cates run, where he's just proving like how powerful he is, and he's like easily one of the most powerful, you know, superheroes, if not the most powerful superhero in the Marvel Universe. It's weird to see this Thor be just kind of like a joke, right? Where, because I think regal's the best thing. Because for me, you know, reading Thor in the comics over the years, and especially this newer run, he's very regal. Jason Aaron's run, Donny Cates run, he's very regal. Like, it's, you know, he's all about being a king and fixing stuff and having this conflict with his father, which they explored a little bit, you know, in the first few phases of the MCU. But I just want that Thor. Like, at this point, him being in the MCU so long, I would much rather the arc be him trying to take over for his father, you know, like dealing with that.
Yes.
Just much like in the comic books where like Gore comes in and he's like, you know, I got to kill you because gods suck and they're not looking out for us. And it's just him dealing with becoming the king of Asgard and all this power and the weight, the pressure that's on him having all this power and responsibility. Not the whole like, oh, I'm rejecting that, so I'm going to get, you know, gain all this weight. And I get it. Like, that resonates with some people, especially the depression side of it. And I know a lot of people like it.
He handed it off to Valkyrie.
Yeah, like, I don't know. But for me, like, the Thor that I would want would be like like, you don't understand, like, I'm Odin's son. This is not, I'll figure this out.
Yeah, honestly.
And he's also, Thor's kind of a douche too, right? Like, he's strong, but especially in the comic. And I kind of want, like, he's that likable douche.
Right.
And I kind of want that.
Well, he's kind of a bully.
Yeah.
He has a kind of a bully.
Yeah. He's a
bully
god.
King. Yeah.
Yes, and I like that.
Yeah. Well, I guess you should say just arrogant.
Very,
I wouldn't say bully. Bully's the wrong word.
Yeah,
he's just really arrogant.
Yeah.
Because he's a god and he's one of the strongest beings in, you know, the universe.
And he's,
Yeah. So he's
Odin's son.
You hit the nail on the head as to why I had an issue with Ragnarok. It wasn't that the movie wasn't well made or there wasn't funny beats or anything like that. Thor Ragnarok completely changed how it redefined two of my favorite characters in Marvel. The Hulk, which is my #1 favorite character in all of geekdom, superhero, and Thor, who I've also always loved because I'm a big fan of Norse culture, etc. Yeah. I love all that. So I've always been a fan of Thor. And I like I even like the Shakespearean version elements of it.
Yeah, like
it's just very different. And it gave it, you know, kind of a classic edge, and it tossed it back to mythology in a way that I really liked. And some of the more modern runs have been really good. But that movie by itself single-handedly redefined both those characters and turned both of them into comic relief.
Yeah.
And then the Russo brothers came in with Infinity War and they cleaned that up with Thor specifically, right? The Hulk remained a backstory and kind of a weird weakling in certain ways.
The Hulk kind of
like
got punked
damaged
towards the
totally
end.
got punked all the way through out both Taika Waititi, what he did with him, and
that's the one gripe with
Russo.
your one gripe with the Russos.
My only,
right?
I would say. It's my only gripe. But yeah,
that arm never healed.
No, but in Thor Ragnarok, both of them became like full blown, like was like slapstick comedy. And it just kind of, because again, that's his style. That's Taika Waititi's sensibility. Like, and that's not that he can't do more serious. It's just he gravitates towards that because that's his style.
That's his wheelhouse.
Yeah, it's what he does. So I really I did not like that direction from either of those characters, and neither of them have really recovered from it fully because Thor did in Infinity War, and then it went right back in Endgame. And it just, I don't know how much of a role Chris Hemsworth is playing in that, because I do know that he played a big role in the whole fat suit, you know, the heavy Thor and all of that kind of stuff. And I know Taika was also a part of the thinking behind that.
I think that's the thing that, like, which I'm sure you agree with. I mean, you're basically saying it is my problem with it, where they kind of made Thor a joke character.
Yeah. No, I just don't like it.
Again, you know, if you look at like great runs, some of the most successful Thor runs, especially recent years, Jason Aaron, Donny Cates, he's a very regal, like powerful, smart, strong, big character. Like there's little jokes in there, but it's kind of like
it's due to a lack of self-awareness.
Yes, kind of like the Batman thing where he's a straight man. It's not like the goofy, like in this the Caesar trailer where, you know, Star-Lord is telling him about like the people you love. He's just gotta look in the eyes of people you love, and he's like, doe-eyed looking at Star. It's like, that's like,
it's way over
Thor's
the top.
not supposed to be slapstick.
It's way over the top.
But, you know, people who don't read comics may, you know, it's fine.
I just, for me, I do not like the frat boy, you know,
because it's like in What
hippie
If
Thor,
like in the What If animated series, where it's like Party Thor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they just continued what they had been doing,
and that's an alternate version of Thor.
Right.
So
it just continues this whole idea that, you know, the MCU Thor is like a frat boy, like hippie kind of who just wants to go find himself and party and stuff like that. Instead of, you know, being the son of a king and a god and all this kind of stuff, who's bearing the weight of all these things. And he does say funny things, but it's out of a lack of self-awareness or not knowing certain things on Earth or whatever, which is the way that they painted him in the first few movies.
Yeah, for sure.
That was his role. I thought it fit very well. And then they just completely redefined him in Ragnarok. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for like experiment with different things, but they just ran with it. And now it's ongoing. I
think a big part of it,
we'll see where it goes, but I'm just, nah. Because
Thor and Thor: The Dark World, like those two movies up until the Eternals were thought of as like the quote unquote worst MCU movies.
Yeah, the
weakest, right? So they obviously were like, oh, we gotta do something drastic with Thor.
Yeah.
So they're like, whatever we're doing is not working. We gotta do. So it's like you said, it's a massive tone shift with Ragnarok. And
it worked.
Yeah, I mean the movie.
It worked.
Most people love that movie.
Yep.
I liked the movie, but again, I don't know. I feel like it's going on too much now, where I have to see what happens in Love and Thunder, where I'm like, no, but I kind of want like that Jason Aaron Thor. I want that Donny Cates Thor. Like, I want my Thor to be like a complete badass.
I
not
kind
like
of wish
looking at someone with doe eyes because it's like slapstick.
I kind of wish that they would have gone more of like a Viking, like you know, like a Ragnar.
Yeah, badass.
Lothbrok. Yeah, just like that style. Than the direction that they went with it. At least do a good mix. I would have been fine with that.
Yeah, it's just too much. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, even when you look at the teaser for this movie, like when they go to Olympus, right? And they show, you don't see Zeus, right? But you see those cheesy lightning bolts flying around.
I didn't notice that too much. I don't think I actually noticed that.
I don't know what those are fully supposed to be. I guess we'll find out with the more. And then he catches one out of the air.
Oh, that bit. Yeah,
and I thought it was like a staff, but it looks like a plastic toy.
It's a lightning bolt. He throws them. That's what Zeus does. Yeah.
Yeah, but did you actually look at it?
Just like a
It looks like it's intentionally done very similarly to that gag where like on Asgard, where they had the people doing
with Matt
play.
Damon?
Yeah. And they had like the cheesy props and stuff like that.
And Alan Grant from Jurassic Park.
And it may turn out to be something like that. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
But everything throughout, it just kind of has that. I did think that, you know, the 80s, you know, throwbacks, there's a ton of 80s nods in there. Like that was just a kind of a shocking amount, actually. They reference like Cocktail from Tom Cruise. Like, I mean, there's just a bunch of 80s nods in the movie.
People are saying it's like
or in the trailer.
It's like Guardians of the Galaxy Thor version. The Guardians of the Galaxies are in it.
I mean,
they're in it.
That's fair, because I mean, James Gunn and I wonder how much they collaborated on this, because the Guardians are in it.
I feel like they're not going to be in it that much, though.
I don't either.
I think it's kind of almost like they're dropping them off somewhere.
Yeah.
And you
I
get
think
like
it'll be a minimum
5-10 minutes of them.
I do think we're going to start with them, obviously, and my guess is that we're going to get a post-credit scene in Multiverse of Madness that will feature them.
Yeah, as Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. One of the things I was very curious about was when he's working out and he's doing the chains, and he's working out trying to lose weight, and they show that big skeleton.
Seems like one of the dwarves of Nidavellir.
It had like a weird shaped skull. Which made me wonder, is that going to end up being like one of the gods that Gore killed? Something to that effect.
I don't know. What's oh my gosh.
But it did look like either Nowhere or Nidavellir. I don't know.
What's the name of the oh my gosh. Well, whoa man. The Game of Thrones character. The
Lannister?
The Lannister. He's in the dwarf.
Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage, yes. I feel like he's maybe one of those, like one of the dwarves.
Could be.
Because he was huge.
Yeah, could be.
In Infinity War. So I'm like, maybe that. Although the skull looked a little alien.
It looked almost like like King. If you've ever seen King Kong's skull in that one movie, or the one of the Kongs, it kind of had a similar shape in terms of the width.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if maybe it was either one of the gods or a creature of some kind. I don't know. We'll have to find out. But there's just a lot going on in the teaser. It all happens very fast. There's a lot of nods to different things. They show us, New Asgard. That's now become like a tourist trap.
New Asgard.
Right? And it's like this whole thing. Valkyrie's apparently not loving being the leader, and they're having some sort of political conflict, which I think is referenced in, is it Eternals? Where they reference there's like political tension or something. No. It was in No Way Home, I think.
Was it?
In the ticker.
Oh, did they?
Where it says, there's like political tension in New Asgard. I remember it vaguely. And then there is something in, I think it's the Eternals. I'm getting the two confused. In the Eternals, what is it Cersei? No, not Cersei. I'm
gonna be honest, I pretty much forgot everything about Eternals.
There's a moment where what's her name? Angelina Jolie's character.
I believe it is Cersei.
Is it Cersei?
Did she play Cersei?
I thought the other character was
Is Eternals a movie?
We've given up on the Eternals.
Did they make the Eternals the movie?
Anyway, Angelina Jolie's character. No, Thena.
She plays Thena. That's right.
Where Thena is having one of her lapses, and she blurts out like, some kind of either prophecy or something. And she says like everyone in I think it's Centus 4 or something, whatever, is going to die. Right. And that's like the area where, what's his face is from? Star-Lord's mentor.
Oh, Yondu.
Yondu. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You can see I'm very good with names continually. But Yondu is from that area that he's from. So it's like he's from that, but she says that in the movie anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then in the teaser, you see
You watched Eternals more than once?
No, God, no.
Okay.
That was terrible. I mean, no, I haven't had a chance.
My setup was so like, wait, you actually sat down and did it again?
That was like a sneak attack.
Wow. Yeah, sorry for everyone who enjoys that movie.
Yeah, sorry to all.
If you loved it, I'm happy for you.
But Yondu is from that same part of the galaxy, and in the teaser, they're standing in front of at one point people that look like they're members of his race.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm wondering, how, if that's going to tie in somehow. So there's a lot going on in the teaser. For me, I walked away going, okay, this is kind of stylistically exactly what I thought it was going to be. But clearly there's going to be a lot happening in the movie that's probably going to have a lot of ramifications for the MCU overall.
Yeah. I don't know. There was a lot of cool things in the trailer, but I'm just, whatever reason, I'm underwhelmed even after all that stuff. I think I think it's all going back to that what we did see of Thor is confirmation that we're not going to get the Thor that I personally like from the comic books, that regal, Thor. We're going to get more of like the kind of the jokey Thor. And I know a lot of people like that. That's awesome. And that, it's great. It's clearly worked for Ragnarok.
Right.
But for me personally, I would rather a different, more serious version of Thor. But, hey, there's always a Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah. Well, that's gonna
can't expect to love every single thing.
That movie, man. And they keep releasing clip after clip after clip, trailer after trailer, these little 1 minute bursts, and they're revealing more and more of Multiverse of Madness. And we're not going to get a full trailer of Thor until after that movie comes out, I don't think.
That's true. I need to see more of it,
because there's going to be probably a lot of spoilers that would tip towards, I would imagine, Multiverse of Madness.
But I think that's the thing with fandom too. Like, I'm sure people are like listening to us. We're definitely not praising that teaser trailer, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who like it. But like, it's one of those things. No matter where you fall, like whether I loved it or I hate it, you can't be expected to like everything.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not a bad thing that we're not head over heels for this. Just like, how can you're just gonna like everything just because it's Marvel?
Yeah.
No, it's like some things are just not my taste. Some other things are, and it's fine whether you do or don't. So it's just this in particular seems like it's not going to be completely up my alley. I'm sure I may like it.
It may surprise you, like,
and it may surprise me. Yeah. So you never know. But from what I've initially seen, obviously I want to see it. I'm excited for the ramifications it has, but I'm not like overly like, oh, this is like going to be the Thor movie, you know?
Yeah.
Although, with that said, I'm more curious about Jane Foster Thor than even Chris Hemsworth, Odin's son Thor, because that can, she could just be Thor moving forward. And like we were saying earlier,
very possible.
Hemsworth could be out.
And what about and Beta Ray Bill? That is another big one. I'm really hoping for.
Hercules. I hope we get Hercules.
Hercules too. Yeah, I'm hoping we get the introduction. We're going to learn more. Not everything. We're going to learn more as we get more broad scale trailers for that movie. Again, which will probably be after Multiverse of Madness releases and everybody's had a chance to see that. And I'm also interested to see how it sets up for Guardians 3. Maybe even the Christmas special. Because obviously they're gonna. I agree with you. It looks like they're gonna be leaving Thor somewhere, and they may only be in a small part of the movie. But we're gonna be setting up for that because clearly he's gonna be off
this
looking
year,
for
right?
Gamora. Guardians 3 is next year, I believe.
No, the Christmas special. I believe
that's this year.
Yeah,
that's this year.
But
they're clearly going to be setting up for them to go hunt and find that Gamora, the alternate version of Gamora. So I'm curious to see where that goes.
Yeah, but kind of flipping because as we weren't praising that so much. I mean,
actually, speaking of Guardians of the Galaxy. Now's a good time.
Do you want to announce it?
Yeah, now's a good time to bring up before we move on to Moon Knight. We are actually not this coming week, but the following week, May 4th through the 6th, we are actually headed to Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida.
Wait a minute, Tim.
Yes, no, it's
Are we going to the happiest place on earth?
I don't know. Is it still the happiest place on earth?
Yeah, it's Disney World.
Okay, we'll go. Yeah, we are going back to the happiest place on earth in Walt Disney World, Epcot Center to be specific, where we are going to be getting a preview of the brand new Guardians of the Galaxy's Cosmic Rewind roller coaster in Epcot. We're pretty excited about that. We're going to be bringing you guys along with us, of course. We're going to be...
I'm going to be eating a churro while I'm on that ride. They're going to be like, sir, no food.
On the ride?
They're going to be like, sir, no food. And I'll be like, oh, yeah?
Remind me to distance myself when the vomit projectiles.
I am super excited. It is the first backwards launched Disney roller coaster. So if for all the fellow Disney fanatics out there, if you've been on Rock and Roller Coaster, that obviously, or even like stuff like the Hulk, it launches you out the gate.
Launch, yeah.
It's a forward launch. This launches you backwards. So it basically like,
exactly.
And
it's also an immersive ride.
Yeah.
So there's going to be screens. There's going to be interacting.
I imagine it's going to be
characters from the movie.
I imagine it's going to be like a Rock and Roller Coaster on crack.
That's very much
because it's an inside roller coaster too, and the car itself, each car rotates.
Right, turns.
It turns,
and we don't know, but apparently it turns 360.
I'm excited.
So, but the thing that I'm super excited about is that you're traveling through space, and it's just screens.
Wait, are we going to have oxygen?
I hope so.
Like, are they giving us helmets? Are we getting the Star-Lord mask, helmet?
All right, I see what's happening. I'm being mocked.
Do we get his blasters?
Dude, can you imagine? That would be amazing. So we're going to be down there, and we're going to be all over our social media, giving you guys kind of like live, updates as to what's going on there. We're going to give you guys our immediate reactions after we ride the ride, before we go on the ride, all that kind of stuff.
Maybe get some Guardians of the Galaxy Mickey ears going on.
Yeah. We'll get some of that in for sure. And then, of course, on the main channel and here on the podcast, we'll be dropping you guys our full experience right after it happens. So we'll be getting that up pretty quickly after we're there.
Yep.
So keep an eye out for that. So that's, again, May 4th through the 6th. Keep an eye on both all the Variant socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, as well as here on the channel.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. I'm excited.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
Disney World.
That's the first time back to Disney in a couple of years after all of
the last time I went to Disney was the last time Disney, brought us down there, which was for
Rise of the Resistance.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, Guardians of the Galaxy. Rise of the Resistance and Galaxy's Edge is what I meant to say. Yeah.
That was actually 2 months.
2019.
2 months prior.
December 2019.
To the COVID madness beginning.
Yep. So, and now I'm probably going twice this year.
That's right. First of two, that's right. So, You're trying to line up a family vacation.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
That's awesome.
But Moon Knight, Tim, episode 4.
Yes. It is upon us. It has happened.
I'm going to get right to it. This is my second favorite episode thus far. We have 2 more or less. Right? I mean, first one, still my favorite just because reasons. No, but because the way it's set up everything, I just really enjoyed episode 1. I think even the fact that just like it was everything I hoped it was is making it still number 1 for me. But I just really loved the first episode, how, we got to see how the personalities and everything work. But this episode, dude, for me, I guess the best way to describe it, like if someone's like, describe this episode, it is Indiana Jones meets the Mummy meets Marvel superheroes. And I love that because it's got the superhero-ness, it's got the adventure, of Indiana Jones with the, the archaeological stuff, the Mummy where they're like in freaking tombs and all that stuff, the horror aspect.
Dude, there was incredible amounts of iconic movie references.
Dude, it was so much fun. Episode. I think one word, adventure. Like it was just that, again, that Indiana Jones, Mummy, Brandon Fraser, just adventure fun. And it brought me back to like that simpler time.
Dude,
like,
there was that nod to Jurassic Park with the flare.
Yeah.
Dude, I immediately was like, okay, Jeff Goldblum.
Did it give you like, at some aspects of the episode, give you like Universal Monster type vibes?
A little bit.
Like little hints.
A little bit of the
this
Mummy.
Is kind of like, like in that world where I feel like, when they were trying to reboot the monster universe with Tom Cruise and stuff before that tanked, I feel like this is the tone that should have been.
Should have.
Like, I just really, really dug this episode. And then, spoilers, guys. Spoilers. Gotta say that because we haven't said spoilers yet, but there will be spoilers for this episode. And I guess the entirety of the series thus far. But then, we get the thing that everyone's talking about because the first, 30 minutes was basically that, just the adventure. They're looking for... Yes. They're looking for Amit.
Well, at least the tomb and they're trying to get Amit before the others do. Yeah.
But the ending, Tim, the ending of the episode.
That's where everything happened. I mean, a lot went down.
A lot did go down.
A lot went down throughout the episode. It was all really good. I would say the first 3/4 of the episode, I was like so into it.
It was finally, I was telling you, I was like, obviously the next episode after us saying it's like it hasn't been that gory yet, or they haven't been really pushing that PG-13 very much. Where it's
they go like hard horror,
like where you freaking
not hard horror,
but you see like freaking people being disemboweled, like he's like ripping out organs, putting this stuff in his mouth, like that creature
super
thing.
Creepy monsters,
like all the blood and guts you like see just laying down on like that sacrificial table.
It was hilarious. I was watching with my kid and my second youngest daughter. She was like flipping out. I was like, honey. I was laughing. I was like, honey, because she was yelling. She's like, no,
it was dope. Please. And the horror elements with Layla and stuff, where that creature is like that, like following her, and like it jumps out and jumps. You see it crawling underneath like the boards. I'm like, this is dope. That's what I was here for at Moon, and I'm like, yes, we're finally, we're getting all the stuff that I was hoping for, slowly but surely. But then the biggest takeaway for me is at the end was the kind of like where Harrow quote unquote killed Spectre / Mark, but it's like, oh no, he ends up seeing like he's in a psych ward, and the whole big twist is like, was he all dreaming this? Is this all in his head? That's the biggest takeaway from it for me. And I kind of feel just like in general how like they're really basing this series in that Jeff Lemire run from 2016,
Absolutely.
Like his 14-issue run on it.
If there was any doubt before,
right?
Because it's 100% clear.
It's
now.
very, very cool. Which I'm wondering how, because in the book they played it up to where like they made it so you don't really know what's reality and what's not. Right. And I feel
you're constantly bouncing back and forth.
Right.
Yeah.
Although I feel like in this, that's definitely what they're playing up to. But I feel like the reality we've been seeing thus far is real. Mm-hmm. I think he's just kind of fell into his subconscious somehow, or maybe Harrow's tricking him in there, or maybe it's some kind of defense mechanism.
I have my own theory of what it is.
Some like self-defense mechanism maybe for Spectre to be like, hey, maybe I'm trying to throw. I don't know. It can go a myriad of ways, but I feel like that psych work thing is not the real reality. I feel like everything we've been seeing this episode and the first 3 episodes is real.
Mhm.
This is kind of just to shake things up.
I do agree.
I'm more curious to see how Khonshu is going to come back into play than anything else. Like, because I know this is a twist and everything, but I'm like, cool. But like, remember, he still doesn't have the power of Khonshu anymore.
Right.
So I feel like it's funny because everything that I've seen people talking about is like, oh, that ending, it's weird. It's a psych ward. I'm like, yeah, that is a big twist and stuff. But like, more importantly, I feel, when is he going to become Moon Knight again?
Yeah, and I think it's probably going to happen pretty quickly.
It would have to,
because my theory is of the psych ward that we're seeing is I think that he's being tormented by Amit, and it is because Amit, as we saw at the end of 4, and we've known throughout this whole thing, has been constrained to the statue. What do they call them? There's a name for them.
I know. Not on. That's obviously.
I spend half the shows trying to figure out what a name of stuff is. It's getting old.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah. Anyway, the small statues that they're bound to. She is on that as well, and I don't know if she is kind of controlling that realm wherever they are. That it's anyway. The point is my theory is that they're in some form of like a god purgatory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense.
And his ties to Khonshu or whatever lured him to that area, which is why we see Taweret at the end of the episode. She comes by to the
fertility goddess.
Yeah, the god. And there's different ways that you could go as terms of like what this god is and what she does throughout Egyptian mythology.
She's going to be in the next 2 episodes on IMDb. You see, she's going to be in 5 and 6.
So she may be a guide of some sort. She may just be, because we do see. It looks like she is herself bound to, because right at the beginning of the episode, you see the avatar for, I believe it's Osiris, walking in and placing Khonshu into his little setting.
With all the other gods.
It backs out, there's all these other gods. And when they did that kind of meeting of the gods inside of the grand pyramid, the Great Pyramid of Giza, there were several empty seats. There were missing gods. And it looks like the gods that are remaining, they just, over time, they've just continued to, basically, bind or what's the word I'm trying to find? Imprison. Thank you. Good Lord. Imprison different gods.
Yeah.
Over time, to where it's just kind of escalating. And it may have started with Amit. And
are they all going to get released at the end?
That's what I'm wondering. So they kind of, Khonshu, because of what happens with Khonshu, what's going on with Spectre, that somehow this is going to just turn them all loose and create kind of a form of war between the Egyptian gods, at least initially. Or they all come together to battle Amit. Amit gets turned loose. Harrow actually gets her, turns her loose. There's a lot of different ways they can go, but I think that where he is now, my theory is that it might be a form of like purgatory for the gods. Wherever they are, they're imprisoned. Yeah. And this is where they all are bound.
And when they were in that psych ward too, you see another sarcophagus that's locked up. Yeah. Because, Mark Spector is the one who's in that world, is in that world initially. And then he goes to another room after talking with
He's the one that gets shot. He was in control of the body when he got shot.
And after talking to the hero of this reality, he goes to, he runs out, he beats up some guards, he runs to another room, and there's a sarcophagus. It's like, help, help, help. So he pushes it open, and we see it's Stephen Grant. So they get out, and now they're like 2 different entities, right? They're like twins now, and they're like, they're hugging each other and interacting separately at the same time for the first time. And as they're walking out, very end of the episode, they pass a room with another sarcophagus that's shaking, but they don't let it out, which is clearly got to be the third personality, which was hinted in episode 3, that stabbed the dudes in the desert. Clearly, or most likely, rather, that's going to end up being Jake Lockley.
That's more than
right. That's like you would assume, which is that.
I was just like, why would you open the first one and not open the second one?
Yeah, I was thinking that too. So they're definitely that. I feel like maybe.
I mean, obviously, it's just to build suspense for us, but
I think because Jake Lockley in the comic books is the most like hot-headed one. He's like the one that's like, because if you think Mark Spector is the one who likes fight, but he's like, so Mark Spector's the rational, I'll kick your butt. Right. Stephen Grant is like the pacifist, and Jake Lockley is like the Raphael, where he's like the hothead. He's like, oh no, you're dying now.
Kill them all.
So I feel like that one's gonna get unlocked probably for like the finale or the end of episode 5, because that's when like,
like all hell breaks loose.
Khonshu's gonna give him the power of Moon Knight, and now Lockley is gonna be like, hi everyone,
Yeah.
and just wreck shop.
Just turns loose.
And that's maybe where we'll get all the real blood that Kevin Feige was hinting with this series, that they're gonna push all those boundaries. But I'm excited for the show, and the whole Alexander the Great thing. That's cool.
Yeah, I thought it was
cool.
when they first got in there and I saw the size of the sarcophagus. The first thing I thought of was like, oh, is this going to tie back to Kang the Conqueror in any way?
I know.
And you get Alexander the Great. There's a little bit of hints of that in Kang's world, a little touch. So I'm wondering, will that in any way? It doesn't look like it so far, but that was my initial reaction. Because, I had two things. I had one, was there going to be any hint of Apocalypse? That was my first.
Oh, you meant mutants?
Because of what they're doing with the introduction of X-Men. I was like, oh, could there be any hint of Apocalypse here? And then they did they showed it, and then there was Alex, and then I thought, oh, well, maybe Kang because of his time in Egypt as a pharaoh. But then they said it was Alexander the Great. Still a really cool twist.
We were like, please say Rama Tut, please say Rama Tut, please say Rama Tut.
I really was. I really was. I was like, dude, that would be amazing if this was like a Rama Tut thing. But the whole thing was, I really enjoyed the first 3/4 of it, just as an adventure. All the references to, again, Indiana Jones was all over this episode. Yeah. They even shot in locations that were in The Last Crusade and stuff like that. It was all over this episode. It was a ton of fun. And then that last little bit there in the where he gets shot and he goes, because you see him fall and he falls on the ground. The water's not very
shallow
deep.
Water, yeah.
Yeah. And then he sinks. Well, he's sinking into the afterlife, the afterlife or the next world. And that's why I'm kind of thinking when they showed him falling, it was as if he was passing through the same kind of portal, if you want to call it that, that the gods walk through or the pharaohs would when they die. It was very much in that lane. And then when you see Tower at the end, I was like, oh, this might be. It's like, and that's why it's like Arthur Harrow is there, still seeming like he's being tormented. He's seeing all the people that he's interacted
Crawley
with.
is there.
Yeah. You have all these different references of everything that's transpired, throughout the entirety of the series so far.
Which is more of like clearly this could be in your brain type thing. Like, cause it's
very
like
possible.
Everyone, it's different versions of everyone we've seen. Like the lady who's his boss at the museum, the gold guy who's Crawley, like Harrow and all there's, all those references. So I'm very curious to see where they go. Cause obviously, it's heavily based in Jeff Lemire's run from 2016.
I wouldn't say completely, but heavily.
But it's like, that doesn't mean that they're going to do it exactly. They're most likely not going to do it exactly. Right. So it's like, it's still anyone's guess what this means.
Yeah. And it really could go either way. This portion of it could be in his mind as he's going through the dying process and Towerette shows up to somehow guide him.
I love her voice, by the way.
Yeah. Hi. Yeah. Hi. But it could be that. My theory is it could be a form of purgatory for the gods. It's being controlled by Amit. So it's kind of tormenting him to keep him confused so he doesn't know where he is. Yeah. Because maybe there's the potential that he could find his way to Khonshu. Maybe that's what she's going to be doing, is escorting him to Khonshu. Khonshu gives him the power and he that resurrects him again.
I'm excited.
You know what I mean? And that kind of is what brings us back, because he's got to be resurrected somehow.
Well, I'm curious to see what's happened. How they're gonna explain what happened to him in the real world. Like, did they take his body? Did they leave it there? Like, did all that happen within a second? Like, it could be a long time in this purgatory world, but in the real world time, it's instant. Yeah. So I'm curious how they're gonna deal with that. Also, I wonder with all these kind of references to like purgatory or even afterlife and all this stuff, if we really are going to get a Midnight Suns type reference towards the end.
Possible.
Because even Harrow, he makes, I forget what the quote is exactly, but he, when he's talking to him in this, the psych ward, he makes that, about the tree, where even a tree goes to heaven, but it's rooted to hell. So I'm like, are we going to get the Ghost Rider reference? Is that going to happen? Like, or is this going to be the beginning of like that supernatural like version or supernatural aspect of the MCU or the Marvel Universe? I want that.
I love it's that type of stuff. That is one of my favorite things about this series so far. And I think it being so self-contained has really served this really well.
100%.
Is that it's allowed them to be so detailed with all these Easter eggs riddled throughout, right? And even down to what you were just talking about, like where he's in the psych ward and he's referencing these different things, and it could tie into this, it could tie into that throughout the entire series, how they insert different aspects of the phases of the moon, always referencing back to the god of the moon and all that kind of stuff. It's really well done in terms of detail and a lot of foreshadowing and, these, symbolic references visually and verbally that you can kind of piece things together, or you can allude to certain things. It could mean something, it couldn't, and it just aids the mystery. I think they're doing a really good job with the show. I'm really enjoying it. I know last time we talked about that there was a lot of people who had seen it said that as the further it went along, the less they liked it.
Yeah. For me, that's debunked because episode 4 is my second favorite episode.
This episode, because the third one we both agreed kind of slowed down. Yeah. And it was just kind of it just felt a little bit empty. Yep. But this picked right back up for me.
Yeah, I think I love how I'm ranking the episodes I'm going to continue this. I'm going to keep ranking them as they come out. So episode 1's my first favorite. Episode 4 is my second favorite. Right. Then episode 2 is my third favorite, and episode 3 is my fourth favorite.
This feels very much like what happened with Loki for me.
Yeah.
We talked about it last time. Loki was, the first couple episodes were just great, loved everybody. And then there was that one episode where I was just like, this one was kind of meh for me. And then the very next episode it picked right back up. And that's where we're at with Moon Knight. First 2 episodes, I loved pretty much equally. Yeah. The third one kind of fell off a little bit. And then this one was awesome. Loved it.
I'm excited. We got 2 more episodes left. And then, Tim, we got 2 weeks left of Moon Knight. But what's coming after that?
Multiverse of
Madness. Yeah. And then after that.
Which comes out, by the way,
Obi-Wan.
while we're in Disney.
Yeah, literally. We're there. We get there on a Wednesday.
I did get us tickets.
And Florida, you did?
I did get us tickets.
Oh, nice. What night?
I got us tickets for the night of the 5th, the night it comes out.
Which is Thursday, right?
It's a Thursday. So I scored us a couple of tickets. But here's what we're hoping. We're hoping.
There's 2 things, though. 1, we might be preoccupied with stuff that Disney is hosting for us.
This is true.
2,
I scored the tickets late. Okay. I got a later show in that event.
Okay.
With that in mind.
You got like a 10 o'clock
But we're both hoping that because this is a Disney film, Marvel Studios, but Disney owned, that they're going to know, like, hey, all these guys are going to want to see Doctor Strange. We got him out here. Yeah. When Doctor Strange comes out, they're going to want to avoid spoilers like the rest of the planet. And they'll get us a screening of Doctor Strange. We don't know that for sure.
Maybe Benedict Cumberbatch will be there on the ride himself.
That's not going to happen.
Maybe Chris Pratt will be there on the ride.
I will not be surprised if we get some members of the Guardians of the Galaxy at the opening.
No, when we went to do Rise of the Resistance, I don't think anyone from the Star Wars movies was there, but Josh Gad was riding the ride.
A bunch of celebrities were there.
Stamos was riding the ride. Right. So, maybe some celebrities will be there, not necessarily the Guardians of the Galaxy.
To get I don't know. Because they do all the promotional stuff.
Come on, Bradley Cooper.
We'll see. We might see some of them there.
Come on, Vin Diesel.
More than seeing the celebrities at the ride, I hope we get.
Can I just say that
we have the time?
I feel like everyone forgets that Bradley Cooper is the voice of Rocket. Like I hear no one ever mention that. Rocket is easily one of the most popular characters, and no one ever talks about Bradley Cooper, who voices the character.
He's really
Everyone always says Vin Diesel when all he says is "I am Groot," but Bradley Cooper over here giving some of the funniest dialogue in all the Guardians films doesn't get any recognition. So you know what, Bradley Cooper, we're gonna give you recognition here because you're freaking awesome, Bradley.
You get a lot of love from us. He does a great job.
Stars
with
Born, anyone? American Sniper? Come on, Hangover.
Yeah. Come on down to Epcot next week. On May 4th through 6th, you can ride the ride with us, Brad.
You know what? We'll get him tickets for Doctor Strange.
That's right. I'll get you an extra ticket. I'll get you an extra ticket.
We'll buy you popcorn and a slushie.
Popcorn on variant.
That's funny.
Whatever. If I get an email from Bradley Cooper
Could you imagine?
That would be
He's
hilarious.
like a fan of the podcast. He's like, I actually listen to you guys every week.
Yeah, right. Never happened.
But in any case, Tim, I guess that brings today's podcast to a close.
Yeah, I really am excited to see how Moon Knight ends up leading us into the Multiverse of Madness. Will we get any references by the end to things that might happen in the Multiverse of Madness? And more than anything, Arris, because you know that I love Egyptian mythology, I really hope that all the gods get turned loose and there's a war of the Egyptian gods and
That'd be
Moon
big,
Knight
though.
Against Ammit and Harrow.
That'd be big.
And his cult. That would be awesome.
I mean, I'm in.
That's where I'm hoping it all goes.
The ultimate for me is a Ghost Rider tease. That's the ultimate for me.
That would be dope.
I'd be like, I don't think we're gonna get it.
Yeah.
But man, that'd be dope.
That would be cool.
But with that said, guys, we'll see you next time when we talk about all things comics.